Welcome back, everyone, to the Flying Lion podcast. We have a full crew tonight. We got Sam, we got Zach joining us. Big week for FC Cincinnati, moving on to the round of 16 in Leagues Cup. We got a lot of transfer buzz going on. That deadline, boys, is coming up on August 14th, just 2 days away. We'll be chatting about that in the second part of the episode. Preview of the Philly game, though, which will actually be probably tonight by the time that everyone is listening. So, first off, Sam, how we doing?
Doing good, doing good. Good to see FC get another win, even though if it is, in Leagues Cup, it's one of those things where it's if FC Cincinnati is playing, I'd like them to win. Obviously. But the fact that it's in Leagues Cup, it's like okay, like I'll take another win. I'm just saying it's a win, not a Leagues Cup win.
Sorry, I was paying attention to the outline. What was your question?
I just said, how are you doing tonight, man?
Dude, I tell you what, I'm so scatterbrained. My wife's out of the house for the whole week on vacation, and I'm like stuck at home, and I'm like, what do I do? So that's kind of where my mind's at lately.
Hey, all good, all good. But I mean, what a week though, and just in terms of like stuff going on with the team. This game that we had though this weekend on Friday, round of 32, we played Santos Laguna. It ended up being quite an interesting game. Ended up being 1-1, went to extra time. I guess PKs, we didn't have a formalized extra time in Leagues Cup, but PKs and ended up winning 6-5. So we'll kind of break down this game real quickly here. Lineup wise, guys, Celentano, Murphy, Cheeto, Robinson, Assad, Buka, Wobodo, Yedlin as our captain, Valenzuela, Orellano, and Kubo with Lucho back on the bench. Good to see that Lucho was back at least for the second half. Any initial thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, first initial thoughts, like you said, Lucho on the bench, Yedlin in the starting lineup, after also not playing the past two Leagues Cup games. And then obviously for the first time we get Cheeto and Miles in the back line, right? Exciting to see those guys get at it. Obviously, we don't have our big horse and Miazga as well, but nice to see that we have probably the second and third best defenders that we have.
Yeah, good call out. Finally getting Robinson back in with Cheeto, seeing that duo play out, and I mean, obviously Murphy's great. He's been I guess one players who's getting the most minutes on the back line this season. So I'm glad that he's finally getting noticed. But yeah, Yedlin, with the knock, the cup, like obviously Lucho in the bench. Um, Other than that, I mean, the bummer. I know we always say, you know, maybe after this match, we probably want Khan on the bench over Loro, but um, when I guess you don't have the extra time either when on these matches, so you don't have that whole 30 minute extra minutes that you have to play. But it's noticeable when you've got a goalkeeper back there that's doesn't have the pressure that you usually see.
Yeah, I mean, well, and so that's a good point. I mean, looking at the lineup, it tells you like who we want to like go with, and especially in a game where it's a knockout phase. So you're gonna put your best foot forward. But to your point, like with a PK possible situation, like is that the best that we have, in terms of goalkeeping? That's a discussion later on, so we'll get there. But yeah, looking at the lineup, yeah, I mean, Sam, like we predicted, we had Assad, that was in there starting. I mean, he earned it. Unfortunately, we get bad news about him today. But yeah, I think he's been on a heater in Leagues Cup, so it was good to see him in that rotation. But to start the game, I mean, like you guys are saying, first time seeing Cheeto and Miles together, you get 4 minutes into the game, and all of a sudden it's like, what happened? Like is this how it's gonna be? It's a fluke. Let's be honest. I mean, Awazium's not gonna make that mistake. But fourth minute, you get a ball that's played, from Celentano. I think Cheeto's trying to play it out wide. It hits off his left foot, um, and ends up being a pretty easy tap in for their guy, which I think shook TQL. With what 18, 19,000 people we had. Good atmosphere, but out of the gate, just going down like that, it definitely does something to you. And I love to see the response. So, Sam, in the 10th minute, what'd you see out of the next FC Cincinnati play?
Yeah, I mean, we just got right back into it. I know it obviously took a lot out of the stadium, if you will, but Orellano, he comes out of position to get the ball and carry the ball forward and gets a lucky bounce, kind of trying to. I think he was trying to pass it,
He was
but
trying to nutmeg the guy. Let's be
yeah,
honest. Come
I
on.
mean, he accidentally nutmegs the guy, and gets a lucky bounce. And
Nutmeg's a
oh my
nutmeg.
God, the beautiful finish that we've been looking forward to like all season and watching all season, in some little stints, that curling left-footed shot just buries it. Just so beautiful. A couple of yards outside the 18-yard box. Like, whew, just a calm, cool, collected finish too. Like, and it was one of those finishes where you curl it into the left and he's already jogging towards the corner. It was one of those.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I think that was a masterclass of finesse shooting. Like seeing that, honestly, I didn't think it was going to go in. I thought it was going to go far wide, but it ended up just curling just right at the last minute into the top 90. So, I mean, props to Orellano. I mean, yeah, I know that nutmeg probably like a fluke, like you said, Sam, but honestly, what came afterwards was stunning.
Think the dude's so class. Like, just, I mean, even by himself to create that goal, whether you want to call it, a purposeful nutmeg or not, but to create the space, run at the defenders, and then just know when to hit it, to catch the keeper out, like he did, and to place it perfectly into that spot. We've seen him do it. I mean, I can count probably 4 or 5 times. He's hit the post on a few of them as well, but I would say arguably our best outside shooter. Um, I don't think there's really any debate on that. Would you guys agree?
I mean,
Ledesma.
considering, yeah, considering
Okay,
Ledesma,
active
hey,
player,
yeah,
active player,
active player.
Okay.
active player. But good
Considering the
shout.
dude
I
shot
love
from
that shout.
half this season,
Yeah.
I mean, distance is no problem.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're a keeper, like, you got to know he's going to cut in on his left and he's going to be curling it. But there's nothing you can do when he puts it up in the corner like that. So props to him. The next play that I kind of saw in the first half, especially, the really interesting thing, obviously seeing before this game, we get the Boup news, but who's going to be your striker? How are the forwards going to interact? So you see Kubo, you see Orellano, you see Dowdo, and how they work, how they pass. And it looked really good in moments. And one of those came to a play where Orellano connects with Kubo, I believe, and then he plays the ball back in. He gets one-on-one with the keeper, who made actually a really good save. Otherwise, at that point, it could have been 2-1. And then we get another moment in the 35th minute. So, I mean, a lot from that front group in another situation where the interconnection was decent. Did you see anything special in that play, Sam?
The second play.
Yeah, in the PK.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, obviously Kubo draws the PK on that. Good link up play, to be honest with you, back and forth on that top end of the formation. Unfortunately, Kubo steps up and just does not. He doesn't look too confident on the ball, and way too easy of a save for the keeper. Probably obviously needs to put it closer to the corners. But is what it is. They moved on, and chances definitely kept coming for FC Cincinnati the rest of the game. We just weren't able to bury another one.
Sam, I'm gonna go on the flip side on this. But let me say something. After that Oriano goal, I thought it was going to be a match of many goals. Like just seeing it was end to end. I think all the way up until I think that Kubo foul. Really, that's kind of when it slowed down the match a little bit. But yeah, as you were saying, Sam, Kubo draws that foul after that great link up play. But truthfully, I think that was a well hit PK. I think it was a pretty hard shot. I think Acevedo. I mean, even judging from his PKs at the end of the match, I think he's a pretty good PK stopper
He's
in
pretty
my
good, yeah.
opinion.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think he
you heard
missed
the
guess by
broadcasters say like how good of a save it was, like maybe one of the saves of the tournament, like, and it was on a PK.
right. Yeah, so I think it was honestly a fluke. I think we should have scored on that one, all things
Yeah.
considered.
Yeah, and I mean, like, how many different guys have hit a PK for us in regular play besides
Uh,
Lucho?
yeah.
I I can't really think of that many. I think we've only had probably 4 or 5 in the MLS history because Lucho's been historically our guy. So yeah, in that moment, obviously you want to see that. And lately, I hate to say it, but the sour taste in our mouth. I mean, you had Lucho that had one saved earlier. Forget which game it was. I think it was
DC.
MLS DC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that game, this game with Kubo, so we made up for it in the end, which is all that matters. But yeah, I mean, from that moment, 35th minute, 36th minute though, we get a goal that's called back, an offside play. Um, Initially, is it on? Is it off? But you go back and you look, and Yedlin's run, I think, was the key. He cuts in, plays a beautiful ball. Buka's been just on a heater lately. I mean, the guy's just been finding himself in good spots offensively. So kind of sad that they called that one back.
Yeah, once again, they get us in the build-up play. I mean, gosh, the VAR is not very kind when it comes to those things, right? It gets your hopes up, but yeah, I mean, Buka had nice finish. Yedlin had a lot of patience to be able to cut back, and at first when he's scrambling through the 18, you're like, pass the ball, do something. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Eventually he finds Buka, but yeah, he was just a hair offside when Kubo passed it to him. Other than that, just great build up play. The momentum was going into halftime was doing really well.
It was honestly so shocking when I realized that was Buka who shot that shot, because I was like, why is Buka way up here on this counterattack? Like that man is all across the field. Um, I think it sounds like Pat really wanted him to be more on the attacking side, much more up the field this match. You could noticeably tell. I mean, it was that link up play with the Kubo foul, Kubo PK. He was in that play. In this one with Yedlin, and that goal that he scored that was called back. I mean, it just seems like he was really connecting that defense into the offense quite a lot.
Good point. I mean, yeah, I mean, early on in the season, Buka's just trying to find his position. He's working next to guys he hasn't played with. Hey, when can I go up? When can I take that space? When can I go, support some of the wingers when they whip balls in? Great point though, Zach. I mean, the last several games you see him score more, but it's the confidence that, hey, I can go forward and Obi's going to cover me. Or in sword formation, I'm going to have Dado that can at least maybe pull back for a second, or Orellano, because he's played defense, obviously more on the outside, but hey, cover for me for a second if I make this run. So yeah, it's an understanding though. And I really think you've seen a lot of those guys develop that over the last several games. But as we rolled on to the second half, I mean, you get more opportunities. Orellano, Kubo with a few different chances. There was one distinct kind of moment that stands out for me. Lucho coming in, 67th minute, the crowd just getting hyped. Just really cool to see TQL just embrace him back. It felt like it had been a long time, since we had seen Lucho play. It really hasn't been, but to have 3 games prior and no Lucho, and then you get Lucho back, really cool to kind of see that. And then immediately how he makes a difference. His ball through to Santos on that one through ball was just unbelievable to know where he's going to run. And then Santos, unfortunately, can't, put it in one-on-one. But yeah, it's been really cool to at least see, him come in the second half in this game and contribute and make a difference and show why he's Lucho.
Yeah, I mean that was his first game for FC Cincinnati since July 20th. And this was his first Leagues Cup game. So um happy to see him get a chance in front of the home crowd. But you mentioned the 1v1 chances, right?
Mm.
Assad had a chance as well, 1v1 with a keeper that he botched as well because he can only put it on his right. Fortunately, I mean, to his credit, I mean, it was a good track down by the defender. I will give him that, but you gotta put off a shot before that. Like, especially when he had a couple yards head start. That was a great pass by Buka as well, very similar to Lucho's to Santos. Um, but we couldn't get it done 1v1 against the keeper. And Zach, to your point, their keeper was on it.
Yeah, he made a few good saves in that second half as it was being much more open. But yeah, I made a note here. I think it was Orellano who had this. I don't know what he was thinking. It's obviously is his golden left foot. that he doesn't want to put on his right foot, where he like outside of the foot shot it. But
Mm.
if it was like on his right foot and he had a right foot, that'd be gold money all day. Even if it was like a, you know, if he was like half as good with his left foot and he shot it on his right, that would have gone in. But at any rate, I think, there was a lot of opportunities that I felt like we really wasted. Coming closer to the end of the match, I feel like you know we've got the connection. We just need to get that finishing touch on it.
Seems like a common trend. Like, obviously, we've had several games where we've scored, 3, 4 goals. But it could have been more. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Finishing on, at least in the second half in these moments, that's how you win games, half chances, right? I've said it all the time. But yeah, we don't end up doing that 1-to-1 straight to PKs, and the interesting part about number one, who takes them, number two, like who feels like confident, with actually stepping up in that moment. And then to see how Roman, does, because we always dog on him about, the PKs, but yeah, all of our guys make them, and with some pretty decent PKs, I would say too. Lucho obviously looked comfortable, but it's good to see him bounce back from the one where he missed in, a couple games ago. But to actually like see, the ball go over the net on that one was very relieving at the end. And I think Roman kind of is like celebrating, but half like, hey, I didn't even make a save and we won. Thoughts on that, Sam? I don't know what you thought in that moment.
Oh, 100% just relief. I mean, you could see it in his face, kind of just like, oh, thank God. Like, I don't have to sit here and try and save another one because, I mean, you might as well just hold up the Olay little red towel, if you will. Let the goals go on by. Um, Roman's he's got to give some kind of effort. I don't know whether it's just needs to be more in like watching film and or if it needs to be just comfortability and the pressure or I don't know what it is, but get a glove on one of them. I mean,
Finger.
a finger, something. I mean, the Bailey stopped more goals than Roman did, really, if you're counting the last one, right? But yeah, I mean, we went 6 for 6 on PKs. Everyone on our side looked very calm, cool, collected. Even if the goalkeeper was, maybe a glove, if not a finger away from saving it. Everybody hit, bottom corners and any spot they kind of picked, they hit, which was nice.
Yeah, I would agree with both of what you guys said. I mean, I think nobody likes PKs, and I felt like, overall, I think that was probably one of our better PK taking, shot shooting. I don't know, set, I guess you could call it, um, this year, even on maybe historically, but um, the I think it's the effort that Roman puts into his diving. Like, it just seems like if he gets it wrong, he just like, falls over. Like he doesn't like what if the ball actually was shot over that way and you're just gonna, haphazardly like at least like make an effort to like commit to it. Like
Do you think he has to do like more like antics before it? You see all these other keepers that are waving their hands, and like you see some guys recently that have been like pointing to the other side, like mind games, just have a little bit more of like
I
spice it
think you
up.
need to compensate. Like if you can't save, at least try to make them like miss some other way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not going to say anything post game, right? Because we know Roman's a very stoic person,
Do
right?
it on the
At
field.
least be a different character, like on the field, or at
Sure.
least during those PK situations. Um, yeah, I agree. He's got to do something, just little subtle something.
I think he has to like bring his Kroger bag out or something, just
Oh,
wave it like it's
oh,
like a bowl thing.
yeah.
Like, look at this Kroger bag to distract him. But we end up winning, and that's all that matters in these knockout games, finding ways to win. We're on to the round of 16, so we'll be playing Philly at home, and we'll get into a preview later on. But some things to note from this one: first PK win of the year, which last year we had 5 different ones, I believe. So pretty crazy. Um, First time that we've, I think, conceded at home in Leagues Cup play. in the opening 10 minutes, right? Is that correct? Or actually in general? I think it's in general the first time we've conceded in first 10 minutes this year.
This year, last season was the last time in Leagues Cup against Sporting KC.
Okay.
That was the last time. So this season is the first time we've done that. And I know for us, we've had those chances at the beginning of the games where we've scored within the first 10 minutes. We've always prided ourselves within the first 15, 20 to be kind of locked down. And unfortunately, a mistake just opens it up to concede within the first 10. But we've been pretty good in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah, and quality is gonna prevail. I mean, 19 shots on the night, 6 on target to their, 8 and then 2 on target. So, like to Zach's point earlier, I mean, it felt like there was going to be a lot of goals in this game. And it kind of also lines up with looking at Leagues Cup stats, Sam. I went back and look at the scoring assist standings that we joked about last time, but we now lead all of the teams in Leagues Cup with expected goals at 8.23. So, I mean, it shows you we're creating those chances. It's just being able to finish them. Kind of interesting to note, though, and I thought this was fascinating. We've only led 30 minutes out of the 270 in Leagues Cup. But again, finding ways to win and that down the stretch will be huge. From our fans' standpoint, would love to have more of the lead, though. So really good stat there. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, 30 minutes is, I mean, it's half of, a half, right? Not a little over half a half. Would love for it to be more. Um, but to your point, we're closing out games better. The past 2 games, we have kind of been a little bit better in the second half, right? And I think in Leagues Cup and in the MLS in general, going into the MLS, here at the end of the month, that first half needs to be kind of solidified in the attacking role. I know I just talked about defense, really putting a stamp on things. The attacking has to step up and, give the defense a little bit of a breather, especially when it comes down to, a goal or two in the second half.
This visitor just won't stop. But I think we can agree that, we need to be I think we need to be decisive in our play, and I think we need to not feel the pressure of the like tournament. And I think the further we can get in tournaments, obviously the more tournament games you play. But I think the more they'll get more comfortable in that play style or in that pressure system. And I think that's what it really comes down to, in my opinion. I feel like I think that Awazium, I think there was just, I don't know. That could have been a pressure system or a comfortability. I think he was just maybe too comfortable, but I think you also need to be able to, I guess, be decisive and be like commit essentially. And I feel
Yeah,
like
know the moment. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, if
exactly.
you think about it, like the last couple years with Pat, we've had a set system that he's adapted. We see a 5 back, 3 guys in the midfield, 2 strikers. We've kind of gone to the sword formation more, last 10 games in this season.
Probably
So
three or 4 times out of the past 10 games. Yeah.
yeah, and so we've kind of had to have our hand forced that way. If you look at injuries, suspensions, Miles being out with the Olympics, guys playing in different positions. So what you're starting to see now that hopefully guys stay healthy and that we are building towards the end of the year is getting established in a set system and sticking with those guys. I mean, that's ultimately what helped us last year is just consistency. You had the same lineup every single game. So, like, I mean, to your both points, which I think are really kind of what reminded me of this is, understanding where everyone should be. And I think that unlocks all of it. I think then we'll start to roll more consistently, having Lucho in there, with Orellano, if he's going to play up top, keep him there. If that's the way we were going to play, keep it that way. Kubo is going to be our striker. Keep it that way. Let them establish that system, and then you'll probably see the fruits of labor that way. Obviously, there's going to be little tweaks with the teams that we play, and then more physical center backs that you need more of a target striker. But yeah, I think it all comes down to consistency, getting the same guys in same positions. And do we stay with this formation? I think probably at this point, would you guys both agree? Do we keep with the sword?
Um, Maybe. I don't know. I think the sword right now is probably your best bet. Especially I know last episode we talked about the highest quality of guys on the pitch, right? Who can we put on the pitch that is extremely in form? Um, and right now you saw the most informed people that we could, right? To your point, Assad was thrown in there. Now in a five back system, Orellano's taking, his spot on the left side. We're moving him down a little bit more. Yedlin's moving down a little bit more. And then obviously the midfield looks a little bit different. Um, but if Lucho starts, is Lucho dueling with somebody or is he by himself? Right. So it just depends on, I think, that midfield spot with Lucho. And then if Lucho's by himself, then there has to be two strikers. Right. I think that's usually how it's been. It'll be interesting. I don't know. Pat's got a lot of decisions on his hands.
I think you're right, Sam. I think it comes down to who's in form and really from an attacker striker standpoint, that's really what it comes down to is, which striker's been scoring more consistently. And it's Kubo. Kubo's got the most goals, so he's playing up top, in my opinion. But I think, yeah, formation wise, I think, yeah, it's just I think there's an adaptability piece to that. I think you got to adapt to you know, whatever the other team comes out and plays. Um, I think it honestly feels like that's kind of like our creme de la creme is, being able to do that, like being able to adapt into, because we don't really have like you guys said, we don't have a true formation that we play, at least this year. I mean, we've seen everything, it seems like. So really being able to adapt to the other team and play to their weakness, I think is the best way, or Pat's way of performing, I guess.
Yeah, and that you're exactly right. Is coming down from the coaching staff and implementing that, practicing that, and saying this is what we're going to do in this moment or against this team. So credit to the players for going out and executing and making it happen. We'll go to a break here. Everyone ponder our question. Let us know what you guys think. Do we stick with the sword formation? Do we go back to the old system moving forward the second half of the season? Guys, my trivia question of the week for you, though. We talked about PKs. FC Cincinnati gets this win in this past game in Leagues Cup. In 10 PK shootouts in FCC's history, MLS and USL, what is our overall record?
All right. Combining both. All right. I'm gonna go
That's
6-4.
6-4 from Sam. Zach, what about you?
I wish I knew what the split was. I think we're 3 wins, 7 losses.
All right. So we got 6-4 and 3-7. Stay tuned to the end of the episode, and we will be right back. We'll give you that answer later on. Hey everyone, we have some exciting news. We are thrilled to announce a partnership with Betstamp and Sign Up Expert, opening up an incredible opportunity for you to join some of our favorite sportsbooks to get the best odds and new user offers.
Head over to our dedicated page at signupexpert.com/flyinlions to explore a selection of sportsbooks tailored to your region, each with unique offerings.
If you're ready to take your sports betting to the next level and show some love for our brand, we highly recommend signing up for your next sportsbook through our Sign Up Expert link. Once again, visit signupexpert.com/flyinlions to place your bets today. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. We are almost to the round of 16. It'll be tonight, guys. We're going to be playing Philadelphia in this Leagues Cup matchup. Leagues Cup is kind of drawing along here. I feel like it's kind of just been Leagues Cup for a while. I'm ready for the MLS season to come back. I don't know about you guys. We had some interesting things happen though this past week. Sam, I'm interested to see where you went with your card of the week.
Gosh, my card of the week was flip-flopping. I had a lot of stuff in my bank this week that it was either a really, really too soft of a card or not a card at all, right? So you're just like, oh, okay, what do we pick here? But I know we're going to talk a little bit about this later in the episode, but I just wanted to touch on a key piece of it. My card of the week is going to be the MLS additions, and that we have no big name signings so far for FC Cincinnati. We've gotten some big names that have been added to the MLS this summer, in the likes of Olivier Giroud, Tim Ream back in the MLS. I know O'Brien from Nottingham Forest went to LAFC on loan as well, and then Herrera for Columbus Crew are mentionably those big names, and then we also have possibly Antoine Griezmann still here a little bit. I don't know. We'll see what that looks like for LAFC. I know they're still in negotiations, but other big MLS names have been moved as well. FC, just come on, give me a big name, whether it's from across the pond, around the world. I don't care at this point. Just somebody I know that can add to the team, right? Transfer deadline, like we talked about, is the 14th. So need to get a name in before the end of the deadline here.
14th, a Wednesday, right?
Tomorrow,
My
by the time everyone's listening.
there you go. It's still Wednesday.
Yeah.
Show me the money, I say. I think, I think they can make a splash now that they've you're gonna hear the news in a second, but
How insane would that be if we steal Griezmann from LAFC? Like, that would be like a huge headline, would it not? That would
It's
be a
not
huge
happening.
headline.
He's not coming to Cincinnati.
hey, the Cincinnati
We got a
Open.
lot of swag
Don't
in
French people
Cincy.
like
You would love
tennis?
it.
Yeah, okay, but he's played with Hugo Lloris and Drew in the national team.
To be fair, he probably is only going to pick a city that has an NBA team. So,
Or, like I've mentioned before, go to a city that had one before that he could bring back and make it his own.
boom, the Cincinnati Royals.
Yeah, with your owner, Antoine Griezmann. There
He'd
you
love
go. That's
that.
the pitch. Give him the pitch, man. Give him the pitch. I don't know if he's got $2 billion in his back pocket, but I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, great shout. Everything's going on around us, and all these teams are getting better. You mention all these names. It doesn't always mean they get better, but those big names, I think, will equal better results for those teams. And our second half of the year is against a lot of these teams. Miami, Columbus, LAFC, all of these teams better because of the people that they've brought in this window. Whether it be, early rumors that we heard from them that have now been completed, or even like as of today, Miguel Almiron might be going to Charlotte. I mean, huge names that are being like thrown out there. We had a little bit early on. You gave us the taste. I hate to say it. We all have the bug now. We heard Weston McKennie and we're like, whoa, 15 million. We know we have that money. Like, let's see it now. We have that spot open. We'll get to that again a little bit. We'll give you our thoughts on that. But Sam, great card. Zach, I'm going to go to you next though on your card of the week.
I've got one main one, but I've also got an honorable mention that really irks me. But we'll go with my first one. So white kits at home all throughout the league's cup. I mean, if you're trying to like sell people on Cincinnati, why not use their home colored jerseys, right? Like the orange and blue. Why are we wearing white at home for a league's cup where you're trying to sell, MLS, right? I'm just totally torn and I don't understand. I guess I don't know if it's the club's decision
Zach, you
or
missed it last episode. We talked about white jerseys give the players an opportunity to wear crazy hair colors so that they stand out more. They took the canvas kits and went with the canvas hair. That's my take.
oh my goodness. I guess yeah, that plays down that. They're I don't know what do they say on the back of them? I can't remember. It's like make your canvas or whatever.
I think it said paint your canvas.
Paint your canvas. There you go.
Yeah.
That could be them doing that. But anyway, it's not very big, but it's a little grape. Honorable card is so as you see, I'm wearing Venezia's kit. It was a disgusting news out of Italy about Nike's sub brand owned by Drake is now the jersey sponsor. What is that? That makes me so mad.
For a club that has like historically amazing kits, awesome sponsors, doesn't seem like a hit. Like not at all.
Yeah, I think to your guys' point, I mean Venezia over the years come out with a lot of kits, a lot of like very sharp, not only on the field kits, but also you could just like wear them, right? Like those are like fashionable kits to wear, and now they're gonna have the OVO owl all over all over the kit. Watch it be just like kind of like one of those backgrounds, just like with multiple just owls like all over the kit. I don't know where they're gonna put it, if they're gonna, like kind of like a left right, kind of like how Zach has it right now with like maybe the OVO on the right. Um, oh gosh, yeah, it's ruined. It's ruined. It's done.
It's completely.
Our American boys, Gianluca Busio and Tanner Tessman, both play for Venezia. They're going to be rocking it this year. Big news about Tessman, didn't get his move to Inter or Florentina, I believe. So those guys are going to be wearing those nice kits, Zach. Do you think you're going to buy one of those?
Unlikely. I won't support
Zach is again our official Flying Lion kit man. So if you guys have any kit needs or kit wants, especially for the upcoming year, go to Zach. There's some fire kits out there. Shout out to Borussia Dortmund's white kit. I think that's one of my favorite that I've seen. But I would love, guys, around this time, like internationally, you're getting all these new kits. Like, let's get a third kit up in here for FCC. We kind of missed it, but earlier in the year, like what, about a month ago, I think some of the MLS clubs got their third kit, their classic ones. Why not now? Let's do a long sleeve version for playoffs or for colder weather. I think that would be a pretty cool thing.
Isn't it always based off of like jersey sales,
It
right?
is, which like Lucho's what, number two or one, possibly? I think he was maybe two behind Messi in jersey sales.
I wonder if it's just the rest of the team's just lacking then. I don't know, like
No, I'm pretty sure it's just they decided who they wanted because like the crew would have had a historic one too, you would have thought, but
should, yeah.
they didn't
That's a
give
good
us
point.
the All-Star game Lucho kit, so I'm still kind of angry about that. That is not my card of the week though. My card of the week is the injury bug that is going around SC Cincinnati right now. Man, we got lucky last year. This year, Miazga, Haglin, Alec Can is out for the year. We have Isaiah Foster who tears his patellar tendon this past week. Now we have Yamil Assad, a guy who was just on fire, tore his MCL. And don't know what that looks like. Don't know what the grade is on that sprain. Being a medical guy, I wish I kind of knew to tell you guys a timeline. But I'm hoping it's a low grade sprain for him and that he'll be back because, again, he's been doing awesome. But the injury bug has been not great. And I'm not going to just blame it on like a field or anything. It's just it is what it is. It happens. It happens to the Reds a lot more than I care to admit. But yeah, I mean, it's been sad this year. Last year, again, we lucked out. This year, it's been brutal.
Yeah, I mean, we thought we were done, right? Miazga goes down, then Haglin goes down. We go, okay, like no more. Injury bug already got us really big. Nope. still,
Let,
still,
let
still got you. Yeah, the injuries we cannot escape from, unfortunately, and I, I, I don't want to like, I don't know what to blame it. Like, I don't have anything to blame it on. Like, there's no like, be really, really bad of me to like blame it on the turf or something, but it really hasn't been that bad as far as like injuries go. But gosh, we need someone coming in bad. We need depth, or we need to sign these FCC two guys and see what they got.
let's just hope Lucho's toes make it throughout the rest of the season. That's all I care about. Lucho's
Lucho,
toes.
you can take our toes, Lucho. We'll give you our toes for the rest of the season.
But
Um,
honestly, all joking aside, I mean, I really hope you know, who is it? Other teams also run into the injury bug because it seems like we're literally the only team that has this many starters out.
well, yeah, and like, I mean, how many people did we name are out for the season? I mean, you hardly see that where like multiple guys are out for the season with injuries, maybe like for a couple weeks or a month or whatever. Um, I'm a little worried that the turf isn't going to hold up for the rest of the year and that like that is going to potentially create more issues, honestly, like in home games. Slightly worried about that. I know we can't blame like all of that, but um, yeah, I mean, we're over halfway in the season. We still have the whole second half all the way to like December. Like, hopefully, knock on wood, we'll be good. Very interesting to kind of see how it's unplayed this year. I know Gary Walker, one of our fitness guys, left, but that has nothing to do with like all of these other things going on, breaking your leg and like tearing your MCL. I mean, that is not anything like necessarily preventable. On the flip side though, Sam, jersey swap of the week, what'd you have?
Yeah, jersey swap of the week. I do want to say honorable mention. I did have Buka for a while on our sheet here, but I was looking through stuff, rewatching stuff, and I really do want to give the credit in my jersey swap to Ian Murphy for this game. He had the second most touches on the team, went 5 for 5 on tackles won. He played an overall just great game, really stood on his own next to the likes of Cheeto and Miles. Continues to be growing in his game each game. He seems to be kind of fixing himself slowly, game by game, and hopefully he picks his game up because he's in great company, like I said, on that back line.
Honestly, yeah, great shout. That was my honorable. If one of you guys took sand, there goes mine. But yeah, if nobody took Santos, but honestly, Ian Murphy, I think he's the most improved on our team this year. I know Barrial was last year, but this year Ian Murphy, 100% deserves that shout.
I feel like he's played solid. I'm going to push back a little bit. I would love to see him consistently play at a high level. I feel like sometimes he does space, but in one-on-one defending, that's the other thing that I think he can improve on. But he's definitely come a long way. I think we all can agree with that. He gets his much deserved extension about a week or two ago,
Mhm.
which builds confidence, really. And then you get Wazium back. You get, Miles Robinson that is playing next to you, and you got to feel more comfortable back there. So I would hope to see Ian kind of grow in that confidence the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Zach, what about you? What'd you have for jersey swap?
Oh, yeah, I already gave it away. We don't need to do it. Um, we had the turf gremlin Santos with the green hair. He his energy and his passion is just I love it when he comes in as a sub. He just goes, full bore all the time, like just plowing through people, making amazing runs, beating defenders, drawing fouls. He just seemed he's I mean, I know last year there was that time frame where he was like I think he pulled like 2 or 3 red cards from teams. Like I love his like late game energy and I think it really showed in this one. Granted, he didn't score off that great one-on-one, but I think he's there. I mean, I think his finishing it'll get there, but all things aside, he played great.
Is this the best run of form we've seen Sergio Santos in an FC Cincinnati jersey?
Yeah, I mean, he's been hot. He has. To Zach's point, he's kind of giving me the same kind of vibe, at least the past string of games that Kubo had last season. Kind of that guy that you can bring off the bench and be able to expect something from. Obviously, Kubo can play anywhere, but Santos brought the energy up top, especially this whole League's Cup run. He was the game-winning goal for us in PKs, slots it away. So happy to see him kind of get his flowers there at the end of the game, being able to finish that off, take a sigh of relief a little bit. Um, but yeah, Santos definitely he brings it every single game.
Like honestly, like shout out to him. I had been leaning more on the side of like I don't know where Sergio fits in this, but he's brought it back, and like we had always heard, he's a big like locker room guy. He's really supportive of all the players. You could see that on the field, but when his energy matches that and his play on the field matches that, then you feel a lot better about the price tag that we're paying him. But yeah, I felt like definitely, in my opinion, he's had the best run of form that I've seen him. He's growing in confidence with each game through Leagues Cup. And you get Lucho back, and that's only going to unlock that more, in my opinion. It really makes me feel like they've kind of leaned in the fact that Santos, Baird, and I really think Kelsey are going to be your guys. I don't know what happens next with the striker room, but they've gone to him more and more lately. And especially, I think in that sub role, like you guys mentioned, it's unmatched. Having that change of speed, the finishing, if he had that, I mean, that would just be total package at that point. If you have that speed and that finishing capability, we'd be talking about Mbappe on FC Cincinnati. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's been really cool to see. My jersey swap of the week, though, big shocker here, Luca Orellano. He was your man of the match day in the MLS or Leagues Cup, actually. So gets the goal in the night in the first half. He had an 8.6 rating, led the game with chances created and completed dribbles. Guys, I really want to start this discussion right now. Let's hear it. Lock this guy in. We haven't hardly ever heard Pat talk about contracts or anything. Post-game conference after the game, Pat says, I expect Luca Orellano to be an FC Cincinnati jersey next year. Is it a DP spot? Is it not? Make it happen. Doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but like, I mean, if we could get him not on a DP, huge. I mean, honestly, it would be massive, but the dude deserves the best. He's going to be in a top 5 league in the next, not next year, the year after, probably. Unbelievable player, unbelievable talent. You've seen more and more of him just building in confidence with anyone who's around him in whatever position they put him in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you saw it post game, right? It was very organic over Leagues Cup. There's been the talk, and it's just, I mean, it's just come out. Orshano has talked about it. He said, "Yeah, like I want to be here," but he's like, right now, I'm focusing on my play. Um, I want to basically saying like I want to be in Cincinnati. Like I want this move to be a permanent move. Pat has said, I want this to be a permanent move. But that has been the talk ever since that happened. The talk has been, all right, is he a DP spot? Is he worth it? I don't really appreciate FCC fans kind of saying that he's not worth a DP spot, or they'd rather use a DP spot for, a striker or, something of the sort. Orshano is becoming one of those guys on our team that could be a Swiss Army knife. So I'd rather have a guy like that be our DP than, a guy like Bupenza, who we're going to talk about here soon, and just, doesn't show up.
It just kind of fizzles out. I mean, truthfully, I think I agree with your critique there, Sam. I think I'd rather have that Swiss Army knife, a la Kubo, um, than Boop. But I would say I don't know on the roster rules change constantly. It's so
Tam,
back and
fam,
forth.
bam, yeah.
I don't even know what is a DP worth these days, but honestly, I think I would spend money on him. Is he would he be considered a young DP at all? I don't know what his age is. Can't remember. Is he 23?
Yeah,
24, I think.
I
24,
believe he
25.
is. Yeah.
So okay,
23 or 24. He wouldn't qualify.
Yeah. So yeah, if he was a young DP, 100%. But I I think it would be borderline.
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you. Obviously, like it's hard to say let's take somebody already on our team and make them to fill that spot when there is such a potential of who you could bring in. Like what you have in him, and to like his credit, like he deserves that spot, but the fact that like we could fill it with an even bigger name, than him potentially to help this team, that's no discredit to him. It's just the situation that we're in. And is he willing to accept that? We have that transfer purchase option, and the players said that he wants to be here. The coach says it, everyone wants it. At what point do we just trigger that and just say, hey, let's just buy him and say like, he's a member of FC Cincinnati moving forward. Is that the holdup with what we're seeing with this open DP spot? Is that really what they're trying to figure out? And then gauging like his interests, because teams are gonna come knocking for him in Europe, and we're talking 10 to 15 million, I would imagine, for Luca Orellano. The question with Barreal was always, are teams willing to spend that much for an outside winger who's only played outside winger for a year and a half? Maybe is a good defender, but doesn't really convert as well to the European style. You could plug Orellano in the winger, like Ian Robin, and he cuts in and whips it into the upper 90 and creates. I think he creates a lot better. So his ceiling is, in my opinion, a lot higher. And why you see him probably going to go for a high transfer fee. But at least for now, I'm going to enjoy him because he's been a gem for us. If you really look at our team, we're set up with multiple designated player type players. I mean, Kubo was a DP. Oreshano should be a DP. Look at all those guys and the value that they have. It's pretty impressive from top to bottom. But speaking of DPs, gentlemen, we had an announcement on this past Thursday. Aaron Bupenza is out. He is not a part of FC Cincinnati going forward. The wording was very interesting to start. Hey, he's not part of the team anymore, and then MLS has now terminated his contract, which means to me that, hey, he breached something, and that is probably he didn't show up to team meetings. You find the guy, you don't have to tell anyone, but you find him, so many times. Then you maybe suspend him for practices or whatever. They don't even have to announce that. But at some point, you have to say you've breached what we expect of you. And I think they went to the MLS and said, hey, enough is enough. My kind of point to what I'm interested in the most is at what point did he trigger that where the MLS would terminate it? You would think like before, I obviously his jaw and the injury stuff, he didn't show up. So that makes sense. But recently, once he was told, hey, you're not a part of our plans, and he doesn't show up, then that's probably when they can go to MLS and say, hey, we got to get rid of this guy. He's not falling. And then we free up that DP spot. To everyone's point, in FC Cincinnati land is like beginning of the window. Why couldn't we do this from day one and then free up that spot to have Albright fill it sooner? I don't think he qualified for it earlier on because of the situation.
Yeah, with Bupenza, I mean, we saw the writing on the wall, right? I know we talked about it on the last podcast, and then lo and behold, it happens on Thursday. The rumor right out of the gate, obviously, was Turkey. He's going back. Had a lot of teams like in the mix. I mean, you had the big teams out of Istanbul, Besiktas, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, were all up there as far as like, hey, like we'd love to have him on the squad. But I'm also, prior to the podcast here, I was seeing reports that, he had already signed possibly with Gaziantep FK, another Turkish club. I guess he was supposed to sign today, which is Monday. I haven't seen anything other than that as far as like, official graphic or anything. So my thought is he's probably going to be in Turkey. It's just a matter of which club.
Yeah, no, sorry, you got me stuck on Turkey. You made me hungry for a second. Honestly, I think, like you said, writing was on the wall. I think it would be not in the club's best interest to not have planned this, months and months in advance. Like as soon as probably that jaw was broken, I think they were like, yeah, we're going to start looking at least, we're just going to shop. We're not going to look browser prices maybe, but I don't think they were fully committed until, I think it had to have been a couple months ago. So I think they're still looking, and I think they're trying to debate, do you bring in a midfielder or do you bring in a striker? Someone that can, like Sam said, can you play multiple roles? Honestly, we need a multiple role playing person right now. So, yeah, I think with the whole Boup situation, it's in the past. I'm gonna forget about it. I'm sure we will forget about it very quickly.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, like let's not forget he helped us win our first trophy in the MLS. He did have several goals last year, but at some point, when you aren't contributing to this team and showing up day in and day out, I mean the players can sense it too. I'm sure it was building in the locker room. Like, are you guys gonna really keep this guy if he's not really out there fighting with us? So that's kind of where my head went first. But yeah, it frees up this spot. So to our next discussion here, transfer window closes on the 14th. So again, listening today, tomorrow, Wednesday. So we got to sign these guys. And like we talked about last week, you know, we knew this was going on, like especially with Bupenza, we had to have targets that we were thinking about. The whole situation with him probably goes back to the spring and hey, we're going to lose him at some point. Let's fill it. But you know, who is that? What position? And I really think they had their attention diverted to the defense for a minute. And that kind of throws off your plans and how you fill this spot. Right now, we have one designated player spot open and two U22 spots. So what does that look like? You know, midfield depth. Is it defensive depth within the league? Again, I felt like that would have happened by now. Tom Bogert comes out and says that the Richard Sanchez rumor that we had talked about last week has no smoke to it anymore. So, you know, where do we go? We haven't really heard a ton of rumors out there. That's worrying to me because usually you at least hear something that we're interested in some players, but very tight-lipped. I don't know if you could mention it, Zach, but the DP spot, you know, that's the question of do we force the issue now? Do we try to just fill something and try to make it work, you know, and then we're stuck with another Bupenza situation for a year? Or do we say, let's kind of see how we do the rest of the season? Let's fill that DP spot in the winter window when we have a little bit more time to kind of process things. And they've been more calculated with these decisions. But to everyone in the fan base's point, winning is now. You know, this is the window. Lucho's 30. You have a Wazium. You have Miles Robinson. You have a stellar midfield. Like, you're one or two pieces away, like other teams have filled, in being that cup contender, like no doubt about it. And right now, I mean, I honestly have a little bit of doubt in where we're at. There's not enough stability, in my opinion, to say that's like locked in. Any thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, I think once again it's finding that player that fits with Lucho up top. I think is the biggest thing, right? You know, we could talk about depth in the midfield as another important key piece, which you know Richard Sanchez was going to be that piece. But if they're looking to make a bigger splash, I I honestly, the striker would have come by now. If it was a big splash, the striker would have come by now. Unfortunately, I'm just kind of thinking that we're not going to get anything, and we're holding our cards until next off season, or relying on those FCC2 guys who are getting really hot right now. Unfortunately, that's just the mindset that we're in right now because, like Ryan said, we got 2 days left. So.
Honestly, I think it'd be more wise instead of making a big splash, make multiple little ones. I think still filling the DP spot, but maybe the lowest DP pay that you could probably give them. But one of those kind of like hidden gem kind of players where you're like never heard of this guy, or type of kind of like someone like a trying to think of a good player out there right now, but it's not coming to mind. But um, someone like Yamil Assad, you wouldn't expect him to like be good, but now he's like stand out on our squad. Obviously not anymore because he's injured, but someone, obviously he's not a DP either, but someone who will make an immediate impact on the field, but not paying them that huge salary.
Sounds good in theory, man. Who you got? Who you got in mind for that? I think that's the struggle right now is to find that informed person. Um, Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We need somebody to contribute now, though. And looking at players like internationally, you have Anthony Martial, the former Manchester United. I mean, big splash would be a huge spend if we brought him in. Weston McKennie still doesn't have a team. You know, are we still looking at that as an option? You know, now that we have that DP spot open. Um, Other than that, like you're talking about, like all these other free agents that are signing, going other places. So now you're looking at guys whose contracts end in 2025. And can we try to bring them over last second and get them to come here? That'll be the big question. We'll find out very soon. So as we move along, shout out to Rose Lavelle, U.S. women's national team, on winning the gold medal against Brazil. They won 1-0. Lavelle, unfortunately, was an unused sub for this game only, like all the other games she played. But hey, gold medal, not going to be mad about that. Shout out to them. I think, 5 now gold medals that they've won. The men's team's got to pick it up because, I mean, the women's team has just been dominant historically. But as we move on to Wednesday's game, round of 16, Philadelphia, a familiar foe, but a team that we are unbeaten in the last 6 out of 7 matchups with them. So we really had their number. I hope that continues. We're playing again at home. We beat them earlier in the year 4-3 in just an unbelievable game. But this will be another game where I feel like Lucha's got to start, honestly. And then the 6th time ever that we've played on a Tuesday, just a little fun fact with that one. But go ahead, Sam.
I want to add to that little, 6th time ever on Tuesday. After this matchup, Cincinnati will have played on all 7 days of the week this season.
That's kind of interesting. Wow. Have we won on every day of the week yet?
I don't know about that one.
FCC 24/7. But yeah, I'm really intrigued by this matchup. To me, the question will be, now that we found out about Emil Assad, you guys talked about it earlier. Does Yedlin go to the left wing back? Do we put Orellano at the right wing back? Do we keep him up front? I don't know. That'll be the question. Do we put Halsey out there at left wing back? Do we say, hey, now's your time to shine in this matchup? I'm really intrigued by that and what they do. And it'll really tell me if, like, hey, do we see production out of the forwards we have, or do we need to put Orellano up there to kind of create those opportunities? I'm going to go with the prediction of winning this game. It's going to be a shootout. 3-2 is going to be my prediction.
3-2. I'll go with 2-0. I think Roman gets another clean sheet.
I'm going to go with 2-1. FC, obviously.
All different scores, but hey, the same outcome. And that winner, hopefully FC Cincinnati, will host the all La Liga potential here between Mazatlan. I'm totally butchering that one, and Cruz Azul. So another Liga MX team that would come into TQL, that would make it the 3rd different team in Leagues Cup. Potentially with that game, and then possibly a crew game after that, or Inter Miami. So that will be interesting to see. But yeah, Sam, I think you had some parlay information for us.
Yeah. So obviously brought to you by Betstamp. Our parlays for this game. Mine is going to be FCC to score more than 1.5 goals, and a Lucho score. That'll be plus 152. And then Ryan is going to go with Lucho to score and FCC to score first. That'll be plus 213. And then Zach had an Orellano goal and FC Cincinnati to win. It'll be plus 322. So if you check out our Betstamp sign up expert link, we'll tweet this out, today while you're listening to the podcast. Feel free to use that link, and obviously odds change. So if they're a little bit different, then it's the day of, right? Is what it is. But feel free to hit up those links and bet responsibly.
Common denominator. I mean, like, Lucho and Orellano are the big names, obviously. But those are the ones that I think people are going to be looking at and putting money on in this one. But guys, I do have our trivia question and answer if you're ready.
Yep, hit me.
So again, going back to our win in PKs this past week, now in 10 PK shootouts in FCC history, USL and MLS days, what is our overall record? Sam went with 6-4. Zach went with 3-7. Sam nailed it. It was 6-4, 6 wins and 4 losses.
Wow.
And yeah, we've had 5 last year, 1 this year, and then 3 previous kind of before that. But pretty cool to see. We have a winning record in PK shootouts, surprisingly. which is honestly pretty good with the amount of times that we've had it.
Yeah, look at that. Who would have thunk it? You know.
So hopefully this next game doesn't go to PKs, but I like our record going into it. I'm pumped for this game tomorrow, round of 16. Let's see you guys next week with a win. Moving on to the round of 8 by then, hopefully, in Leagues Cup, this tournament that we didn't really care about, but now we're like in it. But thanks for listening, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us. We'll be rolling out episodes every week, and we'll see you guys next week.